Thank you all for coming out this evening. I'd like to call the October 15th, 2019 meeting of the Fairfield County School Board to order. I believe we have proper public notification of the meeting. I note the confirmation of a quorum. And at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to enter executive session. We have personnel. Do we have, is there anything else? Is there any contractual matter and personnel matters?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we enter executive session for contractual and personnel matters.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been seconded by Pastor Jackson to enter executive session for contractual and personnel matter. All those in favor indicate raising your right hand. I believe that is 6-0. This time we will enter executive session not to exceed 6:30. Thank you. I don't know. Where are we going?
Because I don't want to say that. Test.
Thank you. We come back to order. At this time, Chair entertain a motion to exit executive session.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we exit executive session.
It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been motioned by Pastor Jackson, seconded by Pastor Jackson to exit executive session. All those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. 7-0. Thank you. If I miss you, my peripheral vision down there is not too good this evening, so if I misstate it, please let me know. All right. Well, again, welcome. Thank you all for being here. At this time, I will turn it over to our secretary for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
Let us all stand for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion regarding approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been seconded by Mr. Davis to approve the agenda. Anything on the agenda? Hearing nothing, all those in favor of approving the agenda indicate by raising your right hand. I believe that's 7-0. Thank you. Have we got any public comment for this evening?
Not none.
Thank you, ma'am. And this time I'll turn it over for presentations and recognitions.
Good evening. Board Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Green, and our community here tonight. It gives me great pleasure to introduce and to celebrate our academic achievement recognition as it relates to our SC Pass and SC Ready scholars. We had 6 students last year who actually took the SC Pass and the SC Ready. And the SC Ready is a statewide assessment in English language arts and mathematics administered to students in grades 3 through 8. These students earned a perfect score on the SC Ready or the SC Pass assessment that was administered last spring. And when I say perfect score, they did not miss one question on the state assessment. So let's give them a round of applause. And because of this achievement tonight, we wanted to do something big, big, big. So with that in mind, when I call your name, if you can come forward, and Dr. Green is going to assist me in awarding the certificates, and they're also going to get a golden ticket. And that golden ticket is going to allow the scholar and a friend to have an opportunity to have lunch with the superintendent on November the 1st at Sumo's Japanese Restaurant. And in addition to that, each of our scholars will receive a gift bag. And the first student, and I'm not going to tell you what's in the gift bag because I want the first student who comes up to open up the gift bag in front of everybody. So when he opens up the bag, I want everybody to go, ooh. All right, so the first student is Aiden Mobley, and he currently is a student at Fairfield Central High School, a 9th grader, and he achieved a perfect score on SC Ready Math. So Aiden, come on down. So Aiden, so you got to open up the bag and then get your picture. Okay, we're going to get one picture at the end? Okay. All right, so you want to open up your bag for everybody to see what you got?
We want to see it.
So each of our scholars will tonight receive an iPad mini and a case for their iPad mini, along with their certificate, and of course the golden ticket. And Aiden, we're going to do a picture right after, so if you like, could you stand right here for me? Our second scholar is Chloe Young from Fairfield Magnet School for Math and Science.
Congratulations.
All right, Chloe. Chloe, what grade are you in now? So she achieved a perfect score the first time taking it in 3rd grade. And our third student is Krishi Patel from Fairfield Magnet School. And Krishi, what is your current grade level? What grade? You're in 6th grade. So he achieved a perfect score on the 5th grade SC Ready Math. Our fourth scholar is Parker Douglas, Fairfield Magnet School for Math and Science. And he achieved a perfect score on SC Ready Math. And Parker, what grade are you in? 7th grade. Our fifth scholar is Keon Squirewell from Geeker Elementary, and he achieved a perfect score in SC Ready Math.
Good job, John. All right.
And lastly, but certainly not least, Kinsley Green from Geeker Elementary School. She achieved a perfect score on the SC Pass Science as a 6th grader.
Ken, we'll take a group picture.
All right, come back over for it. You want to take it over here? Let's give them a round of applause. Now, we also would like to recognize our students who have achieved or have earned 3 or more what we call exceeding expectations on the state assessment. And Ms. Gail Whitfield, principal for Fairfield Magnet School for Math and Science, is going to kick off our awards tonight. And I will share with you that we plan to recognize other scholars from both our elementary, middle, and high school in other future board meetings. And so tonight I'm going to turn it over for Ms. Whitfield to recognize her students.
Good evening, everyone. Board Chair, board members, and Dr. Green, I am the proudest principal in this district. I am so proud of my students, but before I recognize the students, please join me in giving these parents a round of applause for having such amazing academic students. They are wonderful parents. I love them so much that I reached back up and got my ones that are now in 7th grade. I love y'all, and I miss you. But Mr. Brunson knows I only send him the best. I want him to keep them that way. So I'm going to call the students' names who received exemplary in 3 or more areas. I'm going to tell you the 3 areas. And Mr. Wilson, my 5th grade teacher here, is going to assist me. And I know Dr. Green is going to get a picture with all 20 of them. So I'm going to start off with, these students are now in the upper grades, like Kiesha's group, which is 3rd grade. They took the test in 3rd grade, but now they are 4th graders. So Kiesha Bradley, she received exemplary in ELA reading and math, and those are the only 3 tests they took in 3rd grade, so she got exemplary in all of them, and she's also a Duke Tip Scholar. London Brown received exemplary in all 3 areas as well, and she is also a Duke Tip Scholar in ELA reading and math. She got exemplary. Remedy Cook got exemplary in all 3 areas in 3rd grade in ELA reading and math. Jasmine El Bayomi received exemplary in all 3 areas, ELA reading and math. Our next student, which was one of those young people that did not miss got a perfect score on math, is Chloe Young. She got exemplary in all 3 areas, and she's a Duke Tip Scholar. Get a picture. And now our fourth graders who are in fifth grade now. Christian Davis, he received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, and science, and he's a Duke Tip Scholar. Go to Mr. Wilson. Go to Mr. Wilson Zaria Anderson, she received exemplary in 3 areas: ELA, reading, math, and she's a Duke Tip Scholar. Kyla Harper received exemplary in every area: ELA, reading, math, science, and she's a Duke Tip Scholar. Jaslyn McMillan. She received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, science, and she's a Duke Tip Scholar. And she says, I'm not putting on a dress tonight, Miss Whitfield. Darren Metz, he received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, science, and Darren is a Duke Tip Scholar. The students whose names I'm going to call now, they were 5th graders at the time, and now they are 6th graders. Zalakia Karabo, she received exemplary in 3 areas: ELA, reading, and math. Aaliyah Mayfield, she received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, and social studies. Perfect score in math, Chrissy Patel. He received exemplary in 3 areas: reading, math, social studies, and he's a Duke Tip Scholar. Sydney Wilson, he received exemplary in 3 areas: reading, math, and social studies. Now my babies who have moved on to the middle school. There were 6th graders at the time. Jamara Anderson received exemplary in 3 areas: ELA, reading, and science. And her twin, Jamila Anderson, received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, science, and she's a Duke Tip Scholar. The Princess Bird, she received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, and science.
Yes, Mama.
Kinsey Douglas. She received exemplary in all 4 areas: ELA, reading, math, and science. And my other student that had a perfect score in math, Parker Douglas, and he had 4 exemplaries: ELA, reading, math, science, and he's a Duke Tip Scholar. And last but definitely not least, Camille Robinson. She received exemplary in 3 areas: ELA, reading, science, and she's a Duke Tip Scholar. Thank you all so very much, and please join me again in congratulating these students for their academic excellence.
So Kyle, Charlotte in the front, Paul in the back. It's 10 and 10. Yeah, come on, good.
Tall people in the back, shoulders in the front. Real quick.
It's 10 and 10.
Wait. There you go.
Yeah, shoot down this way a little bit. Come on, bitch, come out a little bit. All right, come on down. Come on down. Come on down.
Slide down, buddy. Slide down.
All right, you come on.
Step back home, good.
Congratulations to all of you, and echoing what was said earlier, congratulations to you parents for the hard work that you put in. And grandparents, because I saw some of those out there too. I'm not going to forget about the grandparents.
Don't forget about the mayor.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Give it another second. All right, now for the exciting part of the evening. Next up, board minutes from the last meeting. Is there a motion in regard to the board minutes from the last meeting?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion, we accept the approval of board minutes from the September 17th board meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison and second by Pastor Jackson to approve the board minutes from the September 17th board meeting. Any additions, subtractions, or conversation on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the board minutes from the September 17th meeting indicate by raising your right hand. Am I seeing 6? Abstentions or is that I'm sorry, I jumped ahead, Ms. Hartman. Is that an abstention?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Superintendent's report.
All right. Chairman Frick, members of the board, first of all, I just want to bring to everyone's attention, we have a town hall meeting scheduled Thursday, October the 24th at 6 o'clock at the Fairfield County School District Auditorium. An opportunity for the community to come out and share their perspective, ask any questions, provide any feedback on what we are doing as a school district. So I look forward to engaging the community at our first town hall of the year. The next thing on there I'd like to share with you is if you missed the football game on Friday night, you missed an exciting affair. Okay, and yeah, let's give the Griffin football team a round of applause. And many may not know, but Camden High came in undefeated. I had spoken to some people who said that this is probably the best team Camden has had in over 20 years. So they were riding high, and as a matter of fact, wanted to know why we would schedule them for homecoming. You should schedule a team you can beat. And so I let them know we did schedule a team we could beat. And so we are so excited about the way they played, and it was an excellent game. It went down to the wire. But I also want to recognize the alumni who helped to put together really our first real homecoming alumni tailgate. And it was a rousing success. I think we had about 27 or 28 classes who ended up reserving spaces and setting up tents for a tailgate. I have been hearing people talk about that since Friday night. They're already talking about what they're going to do next year. People have already called literally to reserve spots for next year. And homecoming just ended. So we're looking forward to this being an annual event for people to come out, just renew old friendships, continue to support the Griffins, and the stands were electric. Quite honestly, this is probably one of the most electric crowds I've seen in quite a while, and it probably played no small part in helping to lift our Griffins to a win. We'd be surprised what that energy can do for our young people who are on the field once they begin to get tired. So congratulations to the Griffins. We still are in the running for a region title. Even though we are experiencing several injuries, but with a defeat of Camden, which is probably one of the toughest teams in the region, and Chester, who will be playing Camden, I think, this Friday night, we still have an outside shot of winning the region. So congratulations to Coach Davis, his staff, and the mighty Griffins. Next thing is the Fairfield County Promise Memorandum of Understanding. As I have shared, we have done a revised Memorandum of Understanding after the county has entered into an agreement with Midlands Technical College. And so the county and the school district are both supporting the Promise Initiative. One change is now the county has established a Memorandum of Understanding with Midlands Tech, and we have a Memorandum of Understanding with Midlands Tech. Both entities are contributing to the Promise program, but that simply relates to how the funds will be dispersed. So I have before you a Memorandum of Understanding to approve relative to the Promise Initiative.
Thank you. That is an action item, so Chair will entertain a motion in regards to the updated MOU with Midlands Tech.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we approve the updated MOU with Midland Tech.
All right, Dave. By consent, it was motioned by Ms. Harrison, seconded by Pastor Jackson to approve the new MOU with Midlands Tech. Any discussion on this? I think I see you down there, Ms. Hartman. Yes, ma'am.
I want to note that there's a change in this that's stating that we will still give $75,000 up to 5 years, but it also says or $375,000 starting in, and it does not have a date. Can you explain that, Dr. Green?
Yes, Ms. Hartman. So the $375,000 would be the total amount of $75,000 per year. The date will be the date we initiate the agreement. So that will be as soon as we sign the agreement with Midlands Technical College. As I explained to you, we have the option of continuing to contribute $75,000 a year, or if the district decided somewhere between now and the conclusion of those 5 years that they wanted to pay the balance of the $375,000, we have that option as well.
Can you tell me why they decided to add, you all decided to add that?
That just gives the district flexibility if they decide to fund it differently. If the district wants to continue to pay $75,000 every year, the district can. If the district decides they want to do it differently, that just gives the district flexibility to do so.
But why was that changed from the original?
So we have a change. This is a new agreement between us and Midlands Technical College. That did not exist in the agreement between us, the council, and Midlands Tech. This is a new agreement. Also, you also note in agreement, Midlands Tech has agreed to raise $125,000 as well. That was not in the initial agreement. So this is a new agreement.
Thank you.
Can you just kind of clarify, because I know there's been some confusion about what this thing is, and we talked about doing $75,000 to pay kind of as you go, but now I think the county is taking that end, if I understand correctly. They're going to do the annual payments. What we're doing is funding an endowment. Is that correct?
So not quite. What I'll say, Chairman Frick, is initially the funds will come from the resources the county has identified. In the event that the county funds are expended, then they'll move to school district revenue. If the county funds are not expended, then it will be exactly what you said. Those funds will go towards establishing an endowment. Okay.
And just so we can reiterate this, I think we covered it some time ago, but what is preferential about an endowment versus doing this on a year-to-year basis?
So a couple of benefits to establishing an endowment. An endowment really provides for long-term sustainability as we strive to establish a Promise initiative to accommodate students who may be in kindergarten right now. We need to have long-term funding that we can actually pay for those programs. What an endowment does is it establishes resources where we can basically use the interest to fund the program. Therefore, you don't need to count on a line item in the budget on a yearly basis.
Any other questions, issues?
Well, just Mr. Frick.
Yes, sir.
Superintendent. anyway. My mouth big enough anyway. Yeah. Kind of explain wherein that businesses can get their tax credit for contributing to this, Dr. Green.
Yes, that's a very good question, Mr. Miller. So by contributing the funds through the Midlands Tech Education Foundation, it gives us the ability to go out and solicit resources from businesses. Since it's going through a 501c3 organization, then businesses who contribute receive a tax incentive for doing so. Without going through that kind of an entity, there is not an incentive for businesses to make those kinds of contributions. That's why Midlands Tech feels relatively confident that they'll be able to go out and secure up to $125,000 over the course of 5 years because of the tax incentive provided to businesses who contribute to such an initiative.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'd like for Dr. Green to just give a nutshell overview of what the Promise Program actually is.
Yeah, absolutely, Pastor Jackson. And so, I tell you, this is probably one of the most exciting things we've done during my tenure here, as we think about providing the young people who come through our system with the opportunity to pursue higher education. And very often, financial barriers are one of the biggest impediments to students saying, I can't afford to move on past high school. Well, this Promise Initiative alleviates that barrier because what we say to them is, we are going to provide an opportunity for you to go to school for up to 6 semesters at Midlands Technical College at no tuition costs. And your only requirements are obviously to be a student who graduates from school in Fairfield County, have at least a 2.0 grade point average, and fill out the FAFSA form, which is application for federal aid. Promise Initiative is what we call a last dollar model. All right. And so what happens is you leverage all state and federal resources, and that may be Pell Grant, lottery tuition assistance, or any other sources of revenue, and then the Promise Initiative funds the balance. All right. And so what that results in is that students who come through our system and leverage the Promise Initiative don't have any tuition and fee payments. And so our hope is, Pastor Jackson, is that it changes the culture where every young person in our system feels as if college is attainable. And financial barriers won't prevent them from doing so. This has become more and more popular over the last several years. There have been a few districts in South Carolina who've implemented Promise Initiatives. There are some states who've implemented Promise Initiatives, like the state of Tennessee has a statewide Promise Initiative, or the state of New York. So there are some statewide initiatives. Very excited about this. I think this really provides opportunities for every single young person in our community. And we remind them that even if you decide not to pursue a 4-year degree, even if you decide not to even pursue a 2-year degree, this provides an opportunity for you to at least pursue some training. And so if a young man or a young lady says, well, I don't want to go to Midlands State to earn an associate's degree, but I may want to go for a semester or 2 to get a welding certification. I may want to go to get a heating and air certification. I may want to go to get a construction certification. But plumbing, whatever it is that you may want to do, we have allocated funds to help you achieve those goals.
Mr. Chair. Oh, you finished? Okay. I understand about the $75,000 and the amount of the total 5 years, and that would be coming back to the district, decide whether we do that. But I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great opportunity for our kids, and anything we can do to help our kids after they leave high school, it is a great thing. And thank you, Dr. Green, for actually implementing that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My main reason, my
main reason for asking you to give that little nutshell is so that folk will understand exactly how important this is and what a great thing it is. Because we have job opportunities that come and pass us by because of lack of preparation. And we just don't want our kids to not have that opportunity. Now, of course, you know, it's up to each individual as whether or not they want to pursue it, but at least it's available.
Anybody else on that? Hearing none. It's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor of approving the MOU with Midlands Tech indicate by raising your right hand. Is that 6? Negative? Thank you. All right, we are at, I think you're done, correct? We covered you, all right. Curriculum and instruction.
Good evening. For your approval under the curriculum and instruction are the overnight out-of-state field trips submitted by the elementary schools, the middle school, the high school, along with the Career and Technology Center and our GT elementary program, and also overnight field trips for the mentoring program sponsored by the superintendent's office.
Thank you, ma'am. This is an action item, so Chair will entertain a motion regarding the overnight field trip request.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we accept the approval of the overnight and out-of-state field trips for the 2019-2020 academic year.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd like to second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been seconded by Mr. Miller to approve the overnight and out-of-state field trips for the 2019-2020 academic year. Any questions, issues, concerns on this? And just to clarify, I think we do this every year, but just to clarify, what we're talking about tonight is approval of trips, not funding of trips?
That is correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Ms. Hart.
I wanted to re-ask Dr. Green. I had asked about the Bow Tie Club, whether it was approved last year. You never did answer that question.
I don't think it was, Ms. Hartman. Yeah, I don't think we included it last year. I think that was an oversight.
Thank you.
Anything further on field trips? Hearing none, it's been motioned and second. All those in favor of approving the overnight and out-of-state field trips for the 1920 academic year indicate by raising your right hand. 7-0.
Good evening again. This evening I'm going to share with you an assessment update that will provide you with an overview of the 2018-19 academic year assessment results, and also will include the 2019 school or state school report card ratings. The class of 2019 had the opportunity to take the SAT, which is a college readiness assessment, and last year, the 2019 school year, the average composite score for the class of 2019 was 927, as compared to in 2018, 983, and the average math score was 462, along with the average reading and writing score was 465. If you notice on this chart, we had an increase of the number of students who elected to take the SAT. From 2018, we had 41 students to take the test, and then in 2019, we had 62 students to elect to take the SAT. In the 2017-28 school year, South Carolina elected that all students in their third year of high school should be given the opportunity to take either the SAT or the ACT. And of course, these are the students that elected to take either the SAT the third year, or they also took the SAT on their own independently during a Saturday administration.
And so let me add something. What the state did is they administered the test during the school day, so it wasn't on a Saturday. So
That's correct.
The tests were administered, yes. This is a huge change because historically SATs are not administered during the school day. What the state of South Carolina decided to do to provide an opportunity to every single student is to not only pay for the SAT and ACT, but to give them an opportunity to take it during the school day. As a result, there were 6,000 more students in South Carolina who elected to take the test. Now, when people talk about, composite averages, just historically, the more students you have take the test, the lower the composite average, because you generally get students who may not be as prepared to take the test. They've not necessarily invested as much time in preparation. So our trend was similar to the statewide trend, where the state of South Carolina saw an increase of 6,000 students who took the test and also saw a decrease in composite scores across the state. So I think it's important to keep that in context, that we had substantially more students to take the test because they could take it during the school day and there was no charge. Okay.
Notice that we did have a reduction as far as the scores, like 30 on the first group and 20 on the second group, which we fell down. Is there a reason for that you can think of?
I'm not following your question.
The scoring.
So you're talking about the composite score?
Right.
Yeah, as I was saying, Ms. Hartman, historically what you'll find is if you offer the test to more students, if more students take the test, you generally see the composite score go down, similar to what happened across the state. All right? We went from 41 students to 62 students taking the test. What generally happens is, particularly if you're offering a test during the school day, you have some students who are testing who may not have prepared as much, who may not have taken the same course load, who may not have invested the same amount of time in terms of preparation, and as a result, when you add more students to it, then you find that the composite scores are lower. I did this one time before at a Rotary Club meeting. We looked at the states that had the highest composite SAT average. And while that was very impressive, when you looked at the percentage of students in the senior class that took the test, it ranged from 4%, 5%, 8% of the senior class. And so if you were comparing a school where 5, 6, 7, 8% took the test to a school where 65 or 70% took the test, you're comparing apples and oranges. And so it doesn't necessarily tell you the full picture unless you look at it through that context.
The students aren't told ahead each year when they're going to be having this test?
I'm not following your question. Do they know they have that?
Last year, were they told when they were taking it then, and were they told this year when they were taking it?
Yeah, we don't tell you when you're going to take it. I mean, we normally announce that during the school year, but no. So in other words, do we tell a student this year the date you're going to take the test next year? Is that the question you're asking me?
No, not next year. Close to the time is coming up.
Yeah, close to the time is coming up. Yes.
So they know basically when it's going to come up.
Yeah, but you can't prepare for an SAT over the course of a couple of weeks. I mean, that's something you need to do over the course of time. Yeah, so when you start talking about the coursework that you have taken, yeah, so when you say prepare for a test, I'm not talking about something you do in a couple of weeks. I'm talking about something you do over the course of time.
So you're saying that basically some might prepare and some don't, as far as maybe starting at the beginning of school year 4.
So let me give you an example, Ms. Hartman, but and I use my own children as an example. But by the time my daughters took the SAT or ACT, they had taken 2 or 3 practice tests at home. We had gone over, after your practice test, how did you perform? Go back and review the questions you didn't do well on. We had an online program to give you simulations. I mean, we did lots of things to prepare before we took the test. Now, consequently, the more preparation that you do headed into the test, the better you are likely to do. All right?
So is there something that we can put in place that we haven't that maybe could help? students to do better?
So we have things in place. Now, can we mandate that students do what I said we did in my house? No. Do those opportunities exist? Yes. So the same programs that I'm talking about where you can take practice tests, that's available to every single student at Fairfield Central High School.
I understand that. Thank you.
Okay.
Students in their third year of high school also have an opportunity to take the WIN Career Readiness Assessment. And in 2019, we had 7 students to earn a gold certificate, and in silver certificate level, we had 77 students earn a silver certificate, and in 2019, we had 37 students to earn a bronze level certificate. So overall, we had 71% of our students received a certificate. And if you review the data that's shown here, you will also notice that we had 176 students who actually took the assessment. Overall, we had 125 students who overall received a certificate in 2019. Our dual credit courses that were offered. We are very fortunate in Fairfield County that our students at Fairfield Central High School since 2013-14 have had the opportunity to take dual credit courses. In 2013-14 we had a total of 36 dual credits earned, and in 2018-19 we had 436 dual credit hours or credits earned for our students. So these opportunities, these dual credit opportunities were available, and if you notice on the left, we have the courses listed that students had an opportunity to take whilst they are enrolled at Fairfield Central High School.
Dr. Avery, I don't want to leave without highlighting that point. I want us to just recognize this. So we've gone from 36 credits earned, and these are credits that students left Fairfield High School with, taken to their respective colleges. We've gone from 36 credits in 2013-2014 to 436 credits in 2018-2019. I mean, that is absolutely remarkable, and I can't begin to tell you the cost savings that represents for families. As a father of 2 daughters who benefited from these opportunities at Fairfield Central High School, I can tell you we see significant savings, because that means that my children don't have to be in college as long, all right, when they can take credits with them to their respective colleges. And so to go from 36 to 436, we are providing opportunities for kids in Fairfield County, quite honestly, that you can't find hardly anywhere. This is really unheard of, and so I want to recognize that and acknowledge that. That's a tremendous opportunity for our young people. Thank you.
And to differentiate from other programs that you hear about, our students aren't leaving our campus. They're doing this at Fairfield Central. They're not having to go over to Tech to do this, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on the Lab 120. Do you have any idea why that is a lot lower at 36%?
Calculus is hard. Yeah, calculus is hard. I mean, there's that simple, Ms. Hartman. Yeah, calculus is hard. So it's a very difficult course. But I'll tell you, our numbers are better than Midlands Tech's numbers with the regular student population. And so it is a very, very hard course. I'll just share with you, my brother, my best friend, and a lot of my buddies ended up going to Clemson, and they were engineering majors, so they took several calculus courses, and they took several of them twice. Okay, and they were smart, and they were in college, and they were real good kids, but they took several of them twice. All right, and when I say twice, that means you didn't pass the first first time you took it. Not as if you just want to go back a second time. but it is a tough course, and I would challenge anyone, stop by Ms. Massinati's class one day if you want to know why, and observe what's going on in there, and you will say, wow, because I stop by there from time to time. So I tell parents, calculus is not an easy course. You might struggle. Sometimes you might not make it the first time, but you still benefit from the experience. You'll do better the next time, I can guarantee you. So it's a tough course. There's no way around it. Kids who jump on calculus know that you have your work cut out for you. And let's just acknowledge, there are a lot of young people in high schools across this country that never take calculus. So it's not as if calculus is a foregone conclusion. Probably most of the people on this panel never took calculus, including me. All right, yeah, including me. Yeah. So it is a very, very, very difficult course. But we don't mind our kids experiencing a little struggle now, because it'll prepare them in the future, and that's that kind of resilience that you build in these very, very tough courses make it easier when you get to college. I would like to thank Ms. Hartman, each and every one of those kids, because I've talked to them after they've come back from college, said that even if I struggled in calculus at Fairfield Central High School, it was a much easier experience once I got to the college I was going to, because I had a background that other people would not have had.
That's right.
And speaking of tough classes, we also offer our students the opportunity to take advanced placement courses, AP courses. And in order for a student to earn college credit, they must score at least a 3, 4, or 5. And at a 3, you are considered qualified, which means that the student has proven him or herself capable of doing the work of an introductory level course in a particular subject at college or in college. And so our advanced placement classes, now while you may notice in the right-hand column, the total number of students who earned a 3 or above is 8. I want you to refer back to the previous slide that showed that we still had students who earned 436 credits. Many of our students elect to take the dual credit opportunity or coursework versus an AP course, because the AP course requires the AP exam. And as Dr. Green alluded to earlier, while the students do, in fact, we had 53 students to actually sit for the exam, the experience, the access, and the exposure to the rigorous curriculum allows them the opportunity to establish that foundation so that they can in turn be successful in college. And so a lot of our students take not only the dual credit, but they take the dual credit because oftentimes they see that as an opportunity to earn the credits without having to take the AP exam.
Let me speak to that. What happens is dual credit basically competes with AP. And so students who can qualify with AccuPlacer, if they have an option of taking dual credit or an AP course, 99.9% of the time they take the dual credit course. The reason they do is there is no final exam at the end of the dual credit course contingent on you getting the credit. If you make an A in the course, you get an A. In an AP course, if you make an A in the course, but you make a 2 on the exam, the A doesn't matter. So a lot of our students would elect to take the dual credit. What has happened is, for example, AP Literature, or AP Lang, or whatever the course may be, a lot of students who can qualify for the dual credit course elect not to take the AP course. So what happens in many respects is the kids who sign up for AP may be kids who couldn't qualify to take the dual credit course. So it may not necessarily be all of the kids who are the most well prepared, because if they could qualify to take the dual credit course, they generally elect not to do the AP course. Thank you.
Our end of the course assessments, as you know, all of our students at the high school level take Algebra 1, Biology 1, English 1, and U.S. History. And we saw some slight increases in our Algebra 1 results. We went from 51% in 2018 passing in Algebra 1 to 53%. And then we did see a slight decline in Biology 1 and U.S. History, and we saw no change in the English 1 inner course results regarding the percent of students that are passing those courses. Our SE Ready assessments, many of those students we celebrated on tonight. Students in grades 3 through 8 take the SE Ready assessment in ELA and math. And this chart or this data represents the percentage of students who achieve the meets and exceeds in both ELA and in math. And we saw improvement in the percentage of students who scored meets and exceeds. And over the last 3 years, we started in 2017, we were at 24%, and to 2019, we have increased to 31%. So overall, we had a 7% gain over the 3 years. And in math, we started in 2017 with 26%, and overall from 26% to 2019, we saw a 10% gain in our math achievement as it relates to the SE Ready math. In the SE Pass, the state decided to do some things a little bit different. With the SE Pass, only those students in grades 4, 6, and 8 took the SE Pass. And then, so we did see a slight increase from 2018 to 2019 by 2 percentage points. However, in 2017, we saw that students, we started at 31%, and we increased by 7 percentage points to 38%. And in social studies, the only students who took, or the grades who took social studies last spring were grades 5 and 7 in social studies, and that change took place in the 2017 administration. So we saw a slight decrease in the number of students who scored meets and exceeds in our SE Pass data for our elementary and middle schools. Our graduation rate this year is 81, or from our last year's graduation class was 81%, and we are on target with the state graduation rate, which of course is 81%.
Dr. David, let me say something about that. I think I can talk loud enough. You know, one thing people need to understand about graduation rate, it is basically a reflection of how many students graduated with a standard high school diploma. And so there are so many things that can impact graduation rate. Kind of in simple terms, if I had 100 students in the class, what the graduation rate looks at is, at the end of 4 years, how many students earned a standard high school diploma. Let's say I had 10 kids who were self-contained kids. So if I had 10 kids out of the 100 kids who were self-contained, then the highest my graduation rate could be, if I were perfect, would be 90%. Okay, if I had 4 kids who ended up being incarcerated because of things outside of school, so now I'm down to 86%. So I give you that example to say, when people say, well, what happened to your graduation rate? Well, there are many things that impact a graduation rate over the course of a year. When I was a principal, this is the lowest point in my educational career, I remember my graduation rate slipping one year. And people say, well, Ms. Green, your graduation rate has been going up every year. What happened this year? Well, that particular year, we had 14 self-contained kids in that graduating class. And by self-contained kids, I'm talking about special needs students who weren't working to earn a standard high school diploma. And initially I said, man, my graduation rate would have been a lot better if I didn't have all these self-contained kids in my building. Well, I had forgotten my purpose. My purpose was to serve every kid, not to worry about graduation rate.
That's right.
And though those kids couldn't earn a standard high school diploma, what I provided them was just as important. And I never forget that low point in my career, because you can never get so consumed with the numbers that you forget about the children that you're supposed to serve.
That's right.
So when it comes to graduation rate, we'll see some ebbs and flows. And that's not necessarily a function of anything the school is doing or not doing. That can be a function of a lot of different things, because you're looking at an entire class of kids. So, as long as our graduation rate stays, in this range, I'll be happy, because I know the school is doing all they can do to ensure that kids are graduating. And let me tell you, they do a lot. If someone has financial issues, they figure out a way to accommodate them. If someone has a child, they figure out a way to accommodate them. They do whatever they need to do to try to accommodate the circumstances that our young people encounter. So I'd like to thank the high school for continuing to work towards that. I can almost assure you our graduation rate will go up again this year because it's a different class. And you know, classes of students are just like your own children. You have some children who are more academically motivated. You got some classes that have fewer issues. And so that will occur from time to time.
Our 2019 state report card ratings were released on October the 1st. And we had several schools who, as listed here, we had Fairfield Elementary School, overall performance rating was average. Fairfield Magnet School for Math and Science had an excellent rating. Giger Elementary School had a good rating. Kelly Miller Elementary had an excellent rating. McCoy Liston School of Technology had an average rating. Fairfield Middle School had an unsatisfactory rating. And Fairfield Central High School had an overall rating of average. And these report card ratings are composed or made up of specific indicators as a part of the South Carolina accountability system. So there are several categories of indicators, depending on what level, it could be up to 7, that go into the calculation of the overall performance rating for each of our schools here in Fairfield County. Now, our school growth ratings, and the school growth ratings compare 2 years of data. They look at the 2017-18 data and the 18-19 data, and our schools receive a growth rating. Fairfield Elementary School received a good rating. Fairfield Magnet School for Math and Science received a good rating. Giger Elementary School received an excellent rating. Kelly Miller Elementary received an excellent rating. McCoy Liston School of Technology received an average rating. Fairfield Middle School received an unsatisfactory growth rating, and Fairfield Central High School, because there are high schools do not receive a growth rating. They receive their ratings based upon preparing those students for college and career readiness.
And I'm going to talk about that a little bit, so let me come up to the floor.
I wanted to start out congratulating the Magnet School and also Kelly Miller for doing so great, continuing to do well, and also for Giger to improving from what they have in the past.
Yeah. And elementary school, yeah, I mean, we can go back here. Elementary school improved, the Magnet School maintained an excellent. Giger improved, Kelly Miller improved to an excellent, McCoy Liston maintained, and Fairfield Central High School maintained. So, yeah, lots of celebrations there. No, I'm going to ask you a question. Yeah, I got something I'm going to speak to.
Okay, I'd like to ask what's happened as far as the high school and the middle school?
What do you mean, what happened?
Well, one of them's, the middle school is showing unsatisfactory. And the high school is, 1 point from falling into lower category also.
The high school?
Are we putting anything in place to help these kids to not continue down the path we're going right now?
So let's take high school, for example, Ms. Hartman. One thing that you may not recognize is the high school rating is not based solely on what happened last year. So the high school rating, the inner core scores that went into the high school rating came from when those students took the inner course tests, maybe in 8th grade, maybe in 9th grade. So it's not even a function of what transpired last year.
Okay, on that report, but on the previous report.
Okay, well, you're asking about the report card?
Yeah, but she went on to before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You asked about the report card, or you want me to talk about something else?
Report card.
Okay, about report card. So, as I was saying, that's not strictly a function of what transpired on last year. Classes are like children, as I said. I don't necessarily look at it through the frame of we'll be in a state of perpetual growth, where every single class is going to do better than the class before. Now, obviously, we want to always see our schools and our scores improve, but that's not realistic. What I'll say is I want schools to maximize every student's potential. And every student's potential may not necessarily be maximized in this particular class, and it may not be maximized in next year's class, but I think we have the things in place that students have the opportunities to be the best students that they can be at Fairfield Central High School and Fairfield Middle School. Now, I want to talk a little bit about growth, and this is why we put this slide up here. The way they calculate the report card, 40% of the report card is about whether you satisfactorily met the metric of growth. And in essence, what growth means is they establish targeted scores, and they say, did you meet your targeted score? Now, the middle school's scores were pretty similar to what they were the previous year. The difference is you had 6th grade students who did much better last year or year before last than they did the previous year. Let me explain it to you like this. If me and Mr. Miller are in a 6th grade class and we're going to 7th grade, and Mr. Miller made a 70 on his final test, all right? I was in the 7th grade and I made a 80 on my final test. What the state says is, well, JR, we predict that your final score at the end of 7th grade should be an 85. Okay? Mr. Miller, your score at the end of 7th grade should be a 75. That's your targeted growth. And so if you don't meet your targeted growth, then you aren't meeting the growth metric. So it's not simply based on absolute achievement. I want to show you this example here. These are two middle schools in the area. One's Fairfield Middle School and one a school that I won't identify. And I want you to look at School A. So School A received a good report card rating. Okay? School A received a good report card rating. Fairfield Middle School received a unsatisfactory report card rating. Now, you said, all right, let's look at the scores. Well, Fairfield Middle School had 25% of students to score met or exceed. School A had 15% to score met or exceed in ELA. In mathematics, School A had 17% to score met or exceed. Fairfield Middle School had 17%. Well, you said, well, Fairfield Middle School outscored School A. Why did School A get a higher report card than Fairfield Middle School? It's based on the growth metric. What the state says is, Fairfield Middle School, you didn't grow your students as much as you should have grown your students based on our predictions. All right? School A may not have had scores that were higher than yours, but they grew their students as much as we thought they should have grown their students based on the growth metric. Now, I readily acknowledge we didn't grow students the way I thought we should have at Fairfield Middle School. And I didn't need to wait until school report cards came out to make that determination. Quite honestly, if we hadn't figured that out by the time we get to report cards, we hadn't done something right. So that's why we have implemented several things long before the report card came out. So there are 9 new staff members at Fairfield Middle School. You probably noticed there's a new principal, there's a new assistant principal. We have a reading program that we kind of started at the midpoint of last year. So there are several different things that we are doing to ensure that we experience the kind of growth that we think our students should be experiencing. But I just wanted you to understand the significance of growth as it relates to the elementary and middle school report cards. That's 40% of the report card rating, is do you meet those targeted growth. Okay.
So this is the only thing you put in place as far as to try to pull up these students and change the statistics that's on them.
So you said that's the only thing that put in place. So if I told you that we have a new principal, a new assistant principal, we have new staff, well, Ms. Harmon, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess there's always something else you can do. But I think you develop a plan, and then you see how that plan works. So we're in the first year of developing this plan. We need to first assess how this plan works. So if you ask me, should I be doing something other than what we're doing right now? Let's wait and see what happens.
So you don't have any additional plans in your mind?
Well, when I put a plan in place, Ms. Harmon, if it doesn't work, I'll come up with a plan B. If that doesn't work, I'll come up with a plan C. But I'm hoping the plan that we put in place works. And I remind people, we are talking about children. We aren't talking about widgets. Yeah, okay? We're talking about kids. And so you have to do whatever you need to do to try and reach kids. And sometimes you try this and it works. If that doesn't work, sometimes you try something else. No different than the children you have at your own homes. Okay? I don't know how many people have perfect students and that came out of their home. So I would ask you the question, well, why don't you have all perfect kids out of your house? Okay? Would that mean you were a good parent? Did your kids make all A's and everybody make a 1600 on SAT? So you do all you can to have them maximize their potential, but people are different. Okay? Sometimes they follow your advice, sometimes they don't. You keep motivating them, you keep trying, you keep putting things in place. We do the same thing.
Are you justified in putting money into Midlands Tech versus our students? We're doing everything we can for our students. That's what we need to be doing.
You said, am I justified?
Yes, sir.
I think I am. What I'll say is, any issues we've had in terms of students not growing to the extent that we would like to see them grow is not a financial issue. So that's not a function of us not having the money. Ms. Harvey, that would almost be like saying, if I gave you enough money, you could ensure every kid came out of your house had a 1600 SAT. Or you could ensure that every kid came out of your house was an A student.
Well, I agree. I'm just saying, there's some plans that we can put in place.
But I was responding to your question about the money piece. So you said that, can I justify what we're doing with the Promise program, and should we be putting more money into kids? And I told you I am justified, because when you experience success or failure, even in growing kids, that's not simply a function of money.
Sometimes it is.
But here is not. Here is not. It's not a function of money here.
I'm just saying, we need to be sure that we're helping our kids as much as possible from kindergarten all the way to 12.
There's not one single thing that a teacher or staff member or principal has come to us and said, this is what we need to impact student growth, and we say we don't have the money to do it.
Even if it's, again, additional tutoring. Anything, love to hear some ideas of what, you're putting in place. You mentioned some, hope that works, and hopefully you'll be in process of trying to look at what possibilities of other possibilities.
Well, so what I would ask you is, I'm gonna go back here, if you felt our allocation of resources was the issue at schools where we didn't see the growth that we wanted to see, how do you explain the schools where we did see the growth we wanted to see? How would you justify saying it was a financial issue for the 2 schools that you said we didn't experience the growth we wanted to see, but it wasn't a financial issue in the 5 schools where we did see the growth we wanted to see?
I'm just asking you, because you're the one that can tell us more. And, you're the one that we were supposed to go to.
Okay, so
you're the one that's responsible for everything.
All right. Well, so you asked me the question. I told you it's not a financial issue.
I'm just saying, I realize the money is there.
Okay.
So we need to be, putting it for our students, because this definitely something's got to change. The better for our students.
So I want to be clear. I mean, obviously, I want to see our kids be the best students they can be, but I'm not going to come away from this saying that we had a disastrous year. Absolutely not. We had 2 excellents, a good, 2 averages, 3 averages, and unsatisfactory. We don't want that. We want all excellence. But I would just ask you to, look at, there was an article in The Voice about neighboring districts. Read the article in The Voice about neighboring districts. There were some districts that were highlighted that had no excellent schools. There were districts that were highlighted that had multiple below average schools.
My concern right now is our students.
Well, that's my concern. But if you're asking me a question about our performance on last year, I don't want to leave here with the suggestion that we had a horrible year, because that's simply not the case.
I don't recall being that low in middle school or getting that close to the line as far as high school either. In the past.
Well, I don't know how much you've studied the high school scores, Ms. Hartman.
Well, I just hope, like I said, that we can continue to look at what we can have our children continue to progress.
And Ms. Hartman, let me say this as I close. I don't want anyone to think that we have principals and teachers and staff members here who don't want to see the same things you want to see.
Well,
Well, okay, but I want to.
I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I mean, these folks are working hard every single day to maximize the potential of our young people. But as I said, we aren't working with widgets here. We're working with kids.
Well, I realize that.
Yeah, we aren't working with widgets. So.
And I know everybody's different.
Yeah. Well, I just ask people to think about your own children. Actually, when you think about children in schools, think about it through the context of the children that came out of your own homes.
I realize that.
Okay? Yeah, and
I'm just very concerned as a school board member, as a parent, as a grandparent.
Okay.
And I love this county, and I love its children. That's what I want for them. And we just need to, be sure that we're striving, even if we need to hire, like you said, I think we cut back at one time some of the teachers.
Cut back.
Because we didn't need it in certain areas or something. Anyway.
I'm not familiar with cutbacks.
I think the ratio, what's the ratio now for students at the high school?
You mean student-teacher ratio?
Right.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it's a very low number. I can tell you that. I don't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head.
The newspaper said, the article says it's approximately, 1.5 students less.
Okay, so just imagine that.
Not less, more.
So just imagine, Ms. Hartman, that's a negligible difference. That can be a difference in one class being 50 kids more than the next class. So in other words, if you had 800 kids in your senior class this year, and then you had 720 kids in your senior class the next year, then your student-teacher ratio would be different with the same number of teachers. But you obviously don't take or reduce teachers every year based on changes in senior classes, based on changes in freshman classes. So when you look at a 1 student or 1.5 student difference in student-teacher ratio, that's a negligible difference. Okay. All right. Any other question? I wanted to get on this whole growth metric here so we could understand that. Any questions about that? Because I want people to understand the importance of growth. And I want to go on record saying I agree with this. I think growth metric is good. I think we need to see what value each school presents. We need to look at, are you meeting the targeted growth targets? So I think that is a good thing that we're looking at growth and not simply absolute achievement.
Dr. Green, let me ask you one question, because I have fussed at consistently on my time on this board about the changing of the metrics by which we are measured. Was there changes in the cut scores and all that stuff again this past year, or have they finally settled and said, okay, we're going to try this for a little while?
And so ironically, Mr. Frick, this is the second year of the merged accountability system. The growth metric this year was different than it was last year. Okay? And so what they did, the first year they did it, the way they calculated growth was they looked at how a student performed from 3rd grade to the year prior to taking the assessment. So in other words, if a kid took an assessment in 7th grade, they tracked his scores from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. They basically did an average of how he performed over the course of time and then made a prediction as to how he should perform in 7th grade. All right? This year they changed it and said we aren't going to look at how a kid performs over the course of his academic career. We're just going to look at it over the course of 2 years. So we're going to look at, for a 7th grade kid, how did he perform in 6th grade, how did he perform in 5th grade, and then we're going to have a predicted score based on how he should perform in 7th grade. So that was a change that they made this year, and right now we're going through cyclical review, Mr. Frick. There's probably going to be some changes for next year, and I've already expressed some concerns with that in my last state board meeting. Is the first year we did it, Okay, the second year we made some changes, and now we're going through cyclical review for the third year. So there'll probably be changes. So it is a little frustrating that you kind of keep having a moving target every time you kind of establish it. It changes. Let me say this about the middle school, since obviously that's the outlier. You said, well, the middle school students didn't grow as much as they should, and we acknowledge that. Let me readily say that. That's why we have made some changes at the middle school, and we invest in some more energy here, is because they didn't grow as much as they should have. Doesn't even mean they didn't achieve, they just didn't grow as much as they should have. I have been very satisfied with what I have been seeing here. I've been spending some time here observing classes, evaluating the culture, looking at what they have been doing, and I'm very confident in Mr. Brunson, who's the first year principal, Mr. Dixon and Ms. Johnson, Mr. Dixon, who's the first year assistant principal, and several of the new staff members, that they are going to do a good job of continuing to grow our kids.
Okay, have you put also something similar into the high school, because they're heading downward also?
You said heading downward.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one thing let's go back. Let me show you one thing here, Ms. Harvey. Okay. Obviously, one thing that obviously.
It was 1 point difference of going into the next bracket.
Okay, but they had an average. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not gonna make them have something other than what they had. Okay. They had an average rating. I mean, it's almost as if you want to give them something other than the average rating they had. Okay. Well, one more point, I wouldn't have had an A, but I made an A. Okay, one more point, I wouldn't have had a B.
You don't want to.
Well, okay.
Direction is all I'm saying.
Okay, but so let's talk about what impacts the points that you're talking about. If the graduation rate went from 86 to 81, that in and of itself is going to impact the composite score. If the graduation rate went back up to 86 on next year with the same standardized test scores, with the same college readiness scores, guess what? The numbers are going to go back up. So there are multiple things that impact that, Ms. Hartman, other than just test score data. Okay? So when you say, what are we doing? If all of a sudden the graduation rate goes from 81 back up to 90%, and the scores and our composite scores goes closer to a good, then what has changed? Well, maybe not a lot has changed, other than we had a different set of kids who we were able to graduate at a much higher rate. So am I concerned about what's going on at the high school? No. No, I think the staff there is doing a good job. They're working hard. They're trying to move kids. They're putting plans in place. They're never getting complacent with anything. They're constantly reviewing, figuring out what we can do better. And that's what you do as a school system. Never get complacent, but constantly think about what you can do better. There will be ebbs and flows in data. That's just factual. And so anyone who suggests that you will be in a perpetual state of growth is just not realistic. There will be ebbs and flows in data. And I would say you go to any school, there'll be ebbs and flows. There are going to be ebbs and flows at the magnet school, GIGA, schools in other districts. There will be ebbs and flows in data. But we just continue to work hard to maximize our students' potential. All right. All right. Stop. Let me get it back to you. All right.
You took up enough.
Yeah, I took enough.
And we want to conclude this presentation with sharing some celebrations. Kelly Miller Elementary received the Palmetto Silver Award. We got notified maybe 7 to 10 days ago that not only they received an excellent rating as far as performance, but they also received the Palmetto Silver Award for academic achievement and for closing the achievement gap. And we plan to recognize them at their upcoming board meeting, which I believe is scheduled to be held next month. And they got a proud flag that we will present to them on next month. District achievements, we had 5 students that we celebrated tonight that achieved a perfect score on the SC Ready math assessment, and of course the one student who scored a perfect score in the SC Pass science. We had 51 students to qualify for the Duke Tip Talent Search. As stated earlier, we had 436 dual credits were earned by our students free of charge. 63 students achieved in the 90th or above state percentile on the SC Ready ELA assessment, and 51 students achieved in the 90th or above state percentile on the SC Ready math assessment. And then 13 students achieved a score of 100 on the end of course assessment. And we plan to bring those students, the 13 students who achieved a score of 100, those students will be recognized at a later board meeting. Are there any additional questions? All right, thank you.
I debated whether I was going to say this or not, but I kind of wanted to do this. I just kind of, and I know most of us up here graduated from a Fairfield High School of some degree. I think 2 of us are from Central, and all I can speak to is what was going on at Fairfield Central in 1993 when I graduated. And I ain't bragging, but I was in the college prep class. You can clearly tell I'm not bragging because I said I ain't bragging, and my English teacher would have been very upset. Quite frankly, I've said it before and I say it again, the English teacher I had at Fairfield Central High School was tougher than any college professor I had. I even know of folks who used the same paper that they used in English class with Mr. Glenn, where they got a C, turned it into the professor in college, got an A. So the guy was tough. But I just looking at what we're offering our students. We had 3 AP classes. 3. We had English, we had calculus, and we had biology. And I'm here to tell you, I didn't take calculus. Calculus took me. I passed the class, but I got a 1 on the exam. So exactly what you were talking about, if I'd have taken to college, I might have gotten it, maybe. I don't even know if I passed it, but I didn't pass that exam. And so, you know, we've got a whole lot more opportunities available. There were 2 college classes offered. USC Lancaster had a professor, it was Dean Catalano, who came down here. I think he was just a professor at the time. He became dean of USCL. Came down here and taught 2 classes a year. That's it. That's what we had. And it was good. I mean, I left here with college credit and AP credit, and I was excited that I had that stuff because I got to kind of goof off my senior year in college. But just so many more opportunities now, and it's because of the changing environment. I mean, it's what you've got to do these days, but we're still ahead of some of our neighbors. As I said earlier, our students don't have to go off campus. Our students aren't paying additional costs for these classes. These other programs, they are. Other districts, they're having to go to the airport campus. They're having to go to Beltline campus. We don't have that. So I just wanted to give a brief picture from the class of 1993 about where we were and where we are right now. And I'm quite proud of the progress, and I'm proud to have been a part of it, and I know everybody else is too. And that'll be my preaching moment for the night.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a Winsboro High graduate, so we didn't have any of that. But I can say my daughters, the 2 younger ones, they had more AP classes than you had, and they did take the Lancaster class. And they tell me now, why didn't we have all of the stuff when I was in school? But they actually benefit from all their AP classes when they went to Clemson, not USC. But yeah, they actually benefit. But I appreciate what you're doing now, even though I don't have any kids where I consider all these kids are my babies now. So I do appreciate, you know, all the classes that are implemented now.
Mr. Chair, I would like to commend all the administrators for the fine work they have done with raising the standards in the district.
Amen.
Because recently I was in this myself, and even though I was not middle school, I know middle school had always been the toughest to get good grades on report cards than any other school in in the state. If you look at all the schools in the state of South Carolina, middle school would be the most difficult to raise scores for a number of reasons, but I'm extremely proud of all of the administrators, teachers, and students for raising the standard, because I can remember not too long ago, we couldn't sit here and say we had 2 or 3 excellent schools.
That's right. That's right.
But, you know, I'm proud of the fact that we are on an upward swing, and hopefully we can continue on that trajectory. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
I gotta have my preaching moment now. Look, I probably have more experience with the school district than anybody else sitting up here, because I'm younger than everybody. So, but I want to go on record and say that being a part of this board is a crowning achievement in my career. I spent 36 years here in the district as a teacher, administrator, and principal of several schools. And the school board that was in place then, somebody may get angry with me, but I don't care, I'm going to tell the truth. The school board that was here then was nothing like the school board that we've got now. And I'm not saying that because I'm a member of the school board. I'm saying it because the whole method of operation has changed. We don't micromanage. We let the superintendent do his job, and we see the results now. We're not the laughing stock anymore. I used to hate to go somewhere and tell somebody I was from Fairfield County, but I don't hate to do that now. I can stick my chest out and say I'm proud. And I want to go on record to say I'm proud of this school board and this school district. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You know, I can say one thing, Mr. Green. And Ms. Hartman, I want you to recognize, I appreciate the board having high expectations for our staff. You know, it's refreshing that we can look at these results and say, we got to figure out a way to do better. Even with 2 excellent schools, which you probably can go back in the history of our report cards and find when we've had 2 excellent schools. I don't know, or good schools. And so that just says that our culture of expectations have changed. And I like hearing that. I like that our culture of expectations has changed, where we feel as if we should get all excellent schools. Even though I don't agree with this whole report card metric system, but it is what it is. But that we should get all excellent schools. That's our goal. And we won't ever be complacent. I can tell you, if we had all excellent schools, I would say, what else could we do to better prepare kids? Every single day, I'm going to tell you, we're trying to figure out how we can get better, regardless of what we did, until we leave no kid behind. So that is our goal. But I appreciate the high expectations. But I also want to celebrate our successes. And I don't look at these results from this year. I had somebody from the State Department who said, I want to come and look at what you're doing in Fairfield County. Because for a high poverty school that has some of the challenges, you all are overcoming the odds in many, many instances.
Well,
many instances.
That's why when I started, I was, congratulated the ones that were way up there. But I do have concern, like I said, and I appreciate, like I said, to tell me that we are putting things in place to try to help them to do better. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Just like to make this statement, say a teaching moment. I know that we talked about all the dual credit courses, but I think one thing we forgot about is that we opening this thing up. It ain't just about the students in Fairfield High School. We opening up to the private school. We opening up to homeschool, so they can get dual credit. See, it ain't about, I can't shake your hands if you got your fist balled up. But if I open my hand, I can shake it. And so my point is this right here, is that we want to uplift all Fairfield County. What about that? You know, and I think that's what, you know, through your, Doctor, you know, we don't agree on everything. But through this, I think that you have extended a hand to the private schools, the homeschool, to everybody. You want to be educated? You want to do better? Here it is. Thank you, Mr. Frick.
Thanks. Anyone else? I think we've covered this area pretty thorough. All right, next on the agenda we have Operations and Finance.
Good evening. In your board packets this evening, you have the finance report for the month of September for board review.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Robinson, about the September report? Thank you, sir. We'll move on to Human Resources.
I'll read it.
Okay.
All righty. Chairman Frick, members of the board, before you have certified resignations and terminations. What exhibit is that, Councilor?
Exhibit 1.
In Exhibit 1 for your approval.
Thank you. Chair, I entertain a motion regarding certified resignation, termination in Exhibit 1.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we accept the approval of the resignation terminations for professional certified staff members in Exhibit 1.
That's second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been seconded by Pastor Jackson to approve the recommendations for certified resignation terminations in Exhibit 1. It's personnel, no discussion. All those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Am I seeing 7? Okay. 7-0. Thank you. Next, certified recommendations.
Chairman Frick, members of the board, before you have Exhibit 2, certified recommendations for your approval.
Thank you, Chair. Entertain a motion in regard to certified recommendations in Exhibit 2.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we accept the approval of certified staff members of academic year 2019-20, Exhibit 2. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
I second.
It's been motioned by Ms. Harrison. It's been seconded by Pastor Jackson to accept certified staff members for academic recommendations, staff members academic year 19 and 20 in Exhibit 2. Again, personnel, no discussion. All those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. 7-0. Thank you very much. I think that brings it down to me. Remind everybody our next board meeting is going to be on November 19th. Looks like we're going to Greenbrier.
Yep.
And going over to Kelly Miller. All right. Am I missing anything, Miss Brown? Is there anything I need to tell everybody about? I don't think so. She hadn't told me I've missed it, so she.
What about the thing in Pig on the Ridge?
Oh, November the 2nd.
That's the first weekend of this
November 2nd.
month.
Yeah.
You gonna go get some barbecue?
I hope so. I want to get. I want
All right.
some. I
Friday
want
and
some.
Saturday, Friday and Saturday, the first month.
NSBA conference in Washington, D.C. next year. If you plan on attending, the hotel rooms are booked.
Okay.
If you want to attend, please alert me of that. And also the town of Ridgeway needs to know if you will be participating in their holiday.
Very good. Yeah, you did have that in there. Looks like Ridgeway's Christmas parade is going to be on December the 1st, 3 p.m. If you want to be in there, you need to let them know by November the 8th. All right, and as Ms. Brown said, if you are intending on going to the National School Board Conference, let her know ASAP. All right, if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Right now.
Gotta go to church.
I'm going home, sis.
Oh, okay.
I'm going home. I got
Ms. Harris.
I tell you.
Oh, I ain't even even looked at it. I ain't even looked at it.
3 teams. Yeah. Very good. I like this.
I think we gotta go that way.
Yeah, I'm going that way.
Oh, okay.
Take care. How you two? Right. Take care. Reverend Jackson?
Yeah? Who that call him?
Mr. Freak?
Doc.
Good meeting. No. Good meeting. Doc Davis? God bless you.
All is well?
Yes, ma'am. He's doing well. He's doing well.
You understand, you're right, man.
Come back from that. Yeah.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Man, I'm just trying to thing, my brother. Thank you, my brother.